Sandra. Welcome to another episode of Asexualise, my asexual life. This is a place to be for education about asexuality, all things asexual. I share my asexual life journey in order to help you in yours. So subscribe and hit that bell icon right now so you never miss an episode. So are you asexual and you are struggling with dating and finding someone for the right relationship, and you're really struggling on dating websites, dating apps, and you feel like you're pulling your hair out? Right, I completely understand. I'm kind of in this position myself, but I do have a lot of experience on how to approach dating when you're asexual, and the majority of other people are heterosexual on dating apps and dating sites. And the reason I have a lot of experience is not just because I've been on the online dating scene since 2014, but also because I've been in heterosexual relationships for pretty much half of my past life, in this life, if you like, before I discovered I'm asexual in 2014. So if this sounds like something you're interested in, stick around. And first of all, if you don't know who I am Sandra Bellamy, author of this best-selling Asexual Perspectives book on Amazon, which is about love, life, and sex. And yes, this is relevant to relationships when you're asexual. So go and grab a copy of that. And let's crack on. So, yes, dating sites, dating apps, predominantly heterosexual still. So first of all, I would advise you to find out what type of asexual you are. So if you're new to asexuality, you're still discovering about your identity, please work out where you fall on the asexual spectrum. The reason I say this is because you need to know as soon as possible whether you're open to sex, whether you're open to sexual acts, what touching you like. So you need to try and work out as much as possible how you feel about being in a relationship or being in a dating scenario, and what physical contact you like, don't like, what gender you like, don't like. Of course, you may want to experiment, but it's a good idea if you have an idea of yourself first. If you know yourself, the more you know yourself, the more you're going to have a more decent time in dating in general, because the less likely you are to stay with a person or be with a person who's wrong for you in the first place. Right? So have an awareness of your own asexuality, where you fit into the asexual spectrum. Watch videos on this channel, other channels, books, anything like that, and then decide where you fall on the asexual spectrum. Think about, do you like touching? Do you like nudity? Some asexuals like BDSM stuff. Some asexuals are cool with porn and that. So find out what you like and don't like. Write a list out, journal it down, so you've got an idea of yourself, an idea about yourself, because it's a lot easier to find someone more suitable for you if you know what type of asexual you are in the first place, what you want, what you like, what you dislike. However, a lot of asexuals don't have much relationship experience. Some don't have any relationship experience at all. So this requires a great degree of understanding yourself, even if you haven't been in a relationship before. But oftentimes you will find that it's through the experiences of relationships and dating that you'll be able to understand yourself better, and that will come with time anyway. But the reason it's a good idea to have an idea of what you like and dislike straight away before you get into any of these scenarios is so that you can actually set boundaries and be assertive with those in relationships and dating scenarios. Boundaries are rules to keep you safe. So it might be like, on the first date, I don't want the guy touching me at all. I don't want him holding my hand. I just want a conversation with him. That might be your boundary, and any physical contact's completely off limits. Or you might have a boundary where, you meet up with them in public place. Maybe this is for the first 5 dates before you invite them back to your home. Maybe you wait a whole year before you invite them back to your home. Maybe you have the idea that you only kiss in a relationship. So kissing is completely off the table with dating. If someone wants to date you, maybe you might hold hands. Maybe you even might have a cuddle, but no kissing, because that's too intimate when just dating. These are all types of boundaries you can put in place about what people may or may not be allowed to do. And obviously touching, this type of thing. So when you're on a date, maybe you do like kissing, but you don't want to be touched in sexual places and stuff like that. These are all boundaries. But if you don't know what you like and dislike, it's going to be hard to assert yourself and put those boundaries in place when you don't actually have an idea of what they are in the first place. So Try and find out more about yourself. Masturbation is actually a very good thing. There's a lot of stigma around it. But if you masturbate yourself, if you touch yourself in your own body, then you are going to figure out what you like and dislike a lot more easily than someone who is just doesn't want to touch their body at all. Now, I'm an asexual person who hated the idea of masturbation years ago. I didn't like the idea of touching my body in places like that. It made me feel really, really sick, and I was quite repulsed by it. I only tried it after I discovered I'm asexual, and never before. And now it doesn't bother me. If I want to do that, I'll do that. A lot of the time I don't do it, but if I do want to do it, then I will do it, you know? And the good thing about this is I can have pleasure with myself. I don't need a guy to give me pleasure. So I think that's another important thing. Like, if you are pleasuring yourself in your life in terms of like physical stuff, sexual pleasure, if you like doing that or want to try that, if you are, you know, taking yourself out on dates, if you're filling your own life up with hobbies and interests, this is a lot more healthy way to be before you actually even start dating or get into a relationship, and throughout the whole process. Because if you are coming from a place of lack where you don't know what you want, you have no boundaries in place, you don't know what physically feels good to you and not good to you, you haven't really got any interests or hobbies, so when a person comes along, it'll be like you're more needy of them, and then you're more likely to settle for second best or less than you deserve. And so it's really important that you lay the foundations of your asexuality in a healthy way before you get on the dating scene or get into a relationship. It's important that you explore your own body. You know, it's fine to touch your body. If you're a guy, you can touch your penis. If you're a woman, you can touch your breast or vagina. All this stuff is fine. You know, feel your body, touch it, find out what you feels good to you, and find out what feels too much. You know, like, women can be really sensitive down there, and it can just be too much for them. That's not much talked about, right? It's all about pleasure down there, and oh, it's great. But some women can have pain down there. Some women can get oversensitive, where sex and sexual acts just become too much. It's not pleasure, it's uncomfortable and horrible experience. So, you know, find out what you like. You know, like, do you get turned on by touching your own boobs, for example? Do you get turned on by touching your own thighs? You know, find out what feels good to you and what doesn't. And then make sure you have got some dates with yourself. You know, like, what would you like to do if you were with a person in a dating style relationship? What would you like to do? And like, do some of those things with yourself, or all of those things as much as possible with yourself, because therefore you'll know how you want to be treated. I want you to go out and treat yourself as you'd like to be treated, and dress up for yourself. You know, make yourself feel good for yourself, because the more you feel good for yourself, by yourself, the more you'll know that you can be by yourself, and the less you'll need other people, and the less you need someone else is good. But obviously in a relationship, we should be not codependent, but interdependent. So there should be a great degree of you be able to lean on that other person, but not take over their life. Lean on them for support and caringness each day, but not to the point where your needs are more important than theirs and their whole life should be taken over by you, and vice versa, right? Because that's unhealthy. So once you've laid the foundation, you found out what you like, dislike, right? Then you can go on dating apps, dating sites, and things like that. So by now you should have worked out, like, to a certain extent, like, do you want to try sex? Do you want to try a sexual act? Do you want to try some touching? So these are the questions you need to ask yourself. Now, you might not know the answers to some of these questions. You might be like, I completely don't know anything because I've never been in a relationship before. I just want to try stuff. And if that's you, that's fine, right? But we need to know all this information up front, because we then got to say it to someone else. So when you're creating your bio on dating sites and dating apps, put you're asexual, but put what that means for you. Because most of the people, the heterosexuals, for example, they don't understand what asexual means. They think it means you're a highly sexual person. They don't understand that a and sexual together is absence of sexual attraction. They just think that you're saying, oh, I'm asexual, as in I'm a sexual person. I'm really sexual because I'm flaunting the fact I'm a sexual person. You know what I mean? So that's what they take it to mean. So you have to understand that they're not a mind reader. Heterosexuals don't understand. Unless they come across the term asexuality before, they won't know what it is. And they'll think that you're flaunting that you're a sexual person. because they think asexual, when it's highlighted, is, you know, when someone's putting asexual on their profile, like, oh, that's great, it's a sexual person. Oh, I'm a sexual person too, let's hook up. I've had that numerous times on Facebook, especially on my business page. They like think I'm going to do them a sexy video or do them favors or start a sexual relationship online. It's just completely absurd and out of the question, but they have no idea what I'm talking about. They're like, oh, so you're going to do a video for me then? And stuff like this, and they think that my page is something to do with like sexy videos when it's not, right? So, oh my gosh. So always in your bio, don't just put a or asexual, put what that means for you, as in I don't like sex, or as in I can't just hook up. I have to have an emotional connection to progress things further in that direction. And so I need to really get to know the person over a period of time first, you know, whether that's like a demisexual would say, getting to know someone over a period of time, can't just hook up like that, you know. But an asexual person who's sex repulsed, you need to put, you know, you don't like sex. And if you don't like doing sex acts, then, you know, just put I don't like any type of sex, right? If you don't like oral sex, anal sex, you don't like any sex, put you don't like any type of sex, right? You may want to put, oh, I'm open to doing some sex acts, but not full sex ever, right? But again, you know, it's getting into muddy waters with heterosexuals. If they think you like doing sex acts, they'll just take that to mean sex. If you usually, so you know, you can always say to someone, I'm not interested in sex, but you could say in a private message if you need to about you don't mind doing some sex acts. But or you could put on your bio, I'm not into sex whatsoever. I don't mind doing some touching, maybe. But don't forget, most people are not this upfront in their bio, so it can come across as promiscuous, or that you're actually interested in sexual touching a lot because you've put it in your bio. But the danger of not putting this stuff in your bio is down the line they want something that you can't give them, or vice versa. So by putting, for example, I put that I'm asexual, I don't experience sexual attraction, I don't want need so I don't want or need sex. But it depends what bio it is. So I put basically I'm asexual, I don't experience sexual attraction, I don't want sex, marriage or kids, and I like to live separately in a relationship. That's what I usually put in my bio. Right? Because you've only got a certain amount of words. And so I spell it out, because you have to spell out the deal breakers. If you don't want children, put in your bio you don't want children. If you don't want to get married, put in your bio you don't want to get married, because these are deal breakers. There is absolutely no point in getting someone into conversation if you want a long-term relationship, but you want kids and they do. So it's imperative you write this stuff in your bio and that you talk to them about it as well. Because if people just like your photograph, they don't usually even look at the bio. They just like in the photograph. They'll jump into conversation without even looking at the bio. I've had this time and time again on dating apps and even in groups. But, you know, even in groups, yeah, Facebook groups. There's Facebook dating groups you can join, both asexual and non-asexual. And even them, I've written my bio out and I've written, I do not want marriage, sex, marriage, or kids. And then I get a guy in my inbox going, will you marry me? Clearly for a visa. But that's one of the first things they say to me, will you marry me? Meaning they haven't even read my bio. They haven't paid attention to the bio. So always know that a lot of guys who are heterosexual, for example, on dating apps and dating sites, they do not read the bio. So this means you have to then talk to the person in conversation and ask them, have you read my bio? And if they say yeah, and then say, why do you think you'd be suitable for me? Ask them outright, like, why do you think we'd be a suitable match? Why did you like me? A lot of the time they will just have liked you for your picture, and they won't have even read your bio, and then they might read it afterwards, or they might rot, and then they can make up a load of lies because they like you, they like your picture, then didn't realize you're asexual and don't like sex, and so therefore they go, oh, I can go without sex, when really they can't. So you have to understand there are a lot of liars online. There are a lot of people with avoidant personality types, avoiding getting into real relationships. They want hookups. There are quite a lot of personality disorders as well, because they're avoiding getting into intimate relationships, a lot of them, right? So you have to understand this. This is worldwide. It's not like you're asexual and you're just attracting these type of people. There are a lot of people that are like this on dating sites. Obviously, I don't class myself as one of those, And so I'm honest. So there are honest people on dating sites. You've got to think of yourself, like, are you honest person? Are you a genuine person wanting a genuine relationship? Are you avoidant, or are you really wanting a relationship? Like, think about yourself, and then you'll know you'll know that there are people who are genuine, but the majority just want hookups on dating apps and dating sites that are not asexual ones. That's what they're after. So I'm on Badoo.com and I'm on Facebook dating. Facebook dating, I'm currently taking a break from, because I just kept getting liars on there, lying that they can go without sex, lying that they can give up porn, lying about, well, the last guy, I found out he's married. It's disgusting and I hate it. So I'm taking a break from there because I just fed up with it, right? Having said that, I've had the most dates on Facebook dating, both video and in person, because I haven't had any dates on off Badoo. And Badoo's actually got an asexual category, Facebook dating hasn't. But the thing with Facebook dating is it doesn't tell you if they want marriage and kids down the line, whereas Badoo does. So, you know what I mean? You're less likely to get as many matches on Badoo as Facebook dating if Facebook dating don't include relevant stuff like that, you know? So with Badoo, it's a shame you can't actually filter and look for asexuals, but you can't. So people can check out your profile. If you've got a visitor, they'll have visited your profile and checked it out and read it. So they'll have read your bio. But if someone just likes you and they were never a visitor, they've just literally liked you for your picture. So you've got to be aware of this. And there's a lot of people who are on Badoo who are not looking for a relationship. When I change my filters, and I go up to age 32, which is not the usual age I like. Maximum I like usually is 28. Because I just like younger guys. I'm not interested. I'm not attracted to guys anywhere near my birth certificate age or older. I just not. And I can't force myself to be attracted to guys I'm not. Of course, there might be exceptions. There might be an older guy who looks much younger, because for me, I like younger looking guys. So even if he was a bit older in birth certificate age, it wouldn't be as bad. But if he looks older, and most of them in over 32 start looking too old for me, because I just prefer younger guys. So anyway, you've got to bear in mind as well that some of them lie about their age on dating apps as well. But when I put my filters on up to 32, just to give it some variety, I literally hardly any of them are looking for a serious relationship on Badoo. Less than 10 people usually I get. If I change the filters, I changed the filters once the other day, but it was just like, these people are just too old for me. I just can't even think about kissing them, right? But when I changed the filters to put it higher, much higher, so then I got more people coming through. But a lot of them, even on Badoo, that say they're looking for a serious relationship, they've then written, some of them in their bio, that they're just looking for some casual fun. So they're completely lying. They're saying they're ready for a serious relationship, but they're not. They're just looking for fun, which means hookups. So always read their bio. And so always read their bio and make sure that they've read yours. And if they haven't read yours, then you need to talk to them about the stuff in it, or just decide that they're not for you. Because if they can't even be bothered to read your bio, then they can't be bothered to have a serious committed relationship, and they're not serious. A person who seriously wants to get someone who's compatible with them for a relationship will take the time, effort, and energy, which is barely nothing, to look at the bio that you've written. If they can't even do that, then they're not going to be worthy to be in a relationship with, or even dating scenario, because they're not paying attention to you. They're not listening to you in your bio. So these people are no good. So you need to let them go, right? Because they're no good for you. And then move on. And so you want to be thinking that, yes, it might be a lot more harder to get someone asexual. So that's why you might decide to go on traditional dating sites and dating apps. An asexual person is usually still better most of the time for an asexual, in terms of if you're sex repulsed, especially. But if you're on the grey end of the asexual spectrum, where you don't mind sex infrequently, or you're sex positive, you don't mind having it, or you can negotiate times you do it, then you're more likely to succeed on the traditional dating apps and dating sites. However, some heterosexuals, for example, they need sex usually on average at least 3 times a week. Some of them need it every day. So even if you're on the grey end of the asexual spectrum, you might find that that is just too much for what you're willing to do. And if they really need that, if they got high sex drive, then again, that probably would be incompatible. So you have to understand that when you're dating, you really just want to be dating people who are either compatible for a long-term relationship, or if you're willing to just do dates for the fun and the hell of it and just have a nice time with the person, just enjoy going out with them, then you could do that as an asexual. If you don't have to have a serious relationship, if you don't have to have commitment, then you can just go on dates and set your limits, set your boundaries, and say, hey, I just want to do some kissing, hold hands, cuddling, that's it. And then be prepared to walk away and detach from that person, which can get quite hard if you've been intimate with them in any way, because you can end up connecting with them in some ways. When you kiss someone, it releases a lot of chemicals, endorphins, serotonin, dopamine, this type of thing. And so if you're doing that with someone, it can make you bonded to them in a very short space of time. So that is the danger. But you could just enjoy the dates. I would recommend anyway treating the whole dating process when you're asexual as more of an adventure than a chore, because if you treat it as an adventure, then it's more likely to make you feel good along the way, even when you get disappointed and rejected. And you have to be comfortable with rejection, because you're going to get loads of rejections. There's, if you're polyamorous, of course you might want multiple partners, right? Polyamorous people like multiple partners. But if you are monogamous, you only need to find one person out of all the people, which can be really hard. I still haven't found my person since 2014. I have got very niche needs, so I do understand that, and obviously I'm on here, so that makes it harder when I'm quite famous for being asexual. So it's not easy out there, and I'm with you and I understand you. But if you treat dating more like an adventure, and if you push for your fears and boundaries to in a healthy way, to be able to do dating and pursue a relationship and be on dating sites, it can enhance your skills. Like, it can enhance your communication skills the more you're in conversation with someone on Messenger, or doing video and audio calls with them. It can enhance your social skills, because you're socializing online more with different people, talking to them. It can enhance your confidence if you get a lot of people saying that you look good or liking your picture. That can be a good thing. Obviously, if you don't get so many or don't get much at all, then that can be deflating. But it doesn't mean to say that you're not attractive. It just means to say that the people that are coming, that are coming on those sites are looking for something specific. Like, I get a lot of guys liking my look. I seem to have a lot of people liking my look, including obviously like guys in the age bracket I like in the early to mid-20s. I get quite a lot of them. I even get younger than that. I get 18 and 19-year-olds that like me. I also obviously get older people sometimes, but I mean, on my filters, I filter the older people out, so, and people near my birth certification, I'm not interested. But on Facebook, I do still get older guys sometimes and things like that. I went on asexuality.com. I hadn't been on there for a while, and then I had this older guy, you know, connection request. I'm just not interested in that, right? Because I specifically say younger guy in my profile, so that's really important for me. So it's easier if you can find someone for an asexual relationship if you're sex repulsed, because if they're sex repulsed too, then that makes the relationship easier. You don't have to worry about them having affairs or going off with someone else. And obviously there's asexual groups that you can post what you're looking for in the group. You can go through the members list, and it depends on the rules of the group. Like with my group, I allow people to go through the members list and contact people who they think they might have stuff in common with, where they commented on their post or not. So it's very important that you abide by the rules of the group that you're in. Some people do not allow you to private message people from the group without having prior talk to them in the comments within the group themselves. I just allow it. I say go through the members list, find out what you have in common with some of them. If you like the look of them, private message them, or ideally get into conversation in the group with them. But some people are just silent in the group, and therefore, strike up a conversation, get to know them. But I run 3 asexual groups. Well, I run 6, but 3 of them are dating, and I still haven't found the right person in any of them, because most of the people that come in there, they're not suitable for my niche needs, right? And so what can you do if you've got niche needs? You either can continue to pursue those needs, or you could obviously change one or two or some of them. You either have to change the situation, or you have to change your attitude or mindset towards it, right? Or change what you're doing. So if dating groups and dating sites are not working, then try to meet some people through meetup.com groups where there's different hobbies and interests you share. I personally like Indian guys, so I've gone to Bollywood party events in my city and realized most of them are not looking for an actual relationship. They're just looking to have fun. But there's going to be other Bollywood parties all around the UK. So my interest and intent may be to go and do some of them sometime. But right now I'm busy focused on my career anyway, which is super important to me. I'm speaking at Oxford University next month. So that takes priority at the moment. And I hopefully plan an asexual meetup towards the end of this year as well. So it's going to be good. So always think about what you're doing, like join lots of different dating apps, websites, different ways of potentially finding someone, so you've got more options. You want to keep your options open. You do not want to let people limit your beliefs and say, oh well, you're not going to get anyone because you're asexual, or only me is going to be suitable for you. There's no one in the world going to be suitable for you. I honestly believe there's someone for everyone that wants it, and I don't have limiting beliefs. Like, there are millions of people on planet Earth, right? And thousands of people that may be the person you're looking for. So I don't think it's good to get disheartened, even though it can be disheartening at times. But overall, I think, it's good to pursue that. Having said that, I do think it's good to take a break as well. I think if it's becoming too much for you, if you're getting lots of rejections, you've got lots of people that are lying, switch platforms to something else, try something else, do something else, or just take a break from it. I think your mental health and well-being is much more important than finding a relationship or dating. And it's also, may I remind you, much better to be single forever than it is to be with someone in the wrong relationship. The wrong relationship can grow very toxic very quickly, and it can carry on for years and end up very difficult. You can end up not even knowing who you are anymore, and it can get depressive and lonely and very, very isolating. You don't want that. It's better for you to be single forever than it is to be in toxicity. As an asexual, I would recommend getting some friends, so that even if you never get into a relationship, you still got some support there. You still got some network there as you progress through the years. You've still got someone there for you. I think that's more essential for asexuals than ever before. Friendship is really important to us, and we do need our friends as much as possible. Healthy friends, of course. If you get someone who's a friend to you who's not really being a true friend, then again, that's not healthy either. It's toxic. So that needs to be addressed or got rid of. So know that dating is a journey. See it as a journey and adventure, and a journey where you develop your skills, you become more self-aware, you have different adventures that you do. You have to get out of your comfort zone. You can't stay in your comfort zone. You need to be approaching people online, being proactive. It's no good joining dating sites and dating apps and dating groups and not saying anything to anyone. There might be some people you match with, and you think, oh, I read their bio again and I realized there's something about them I don't like. Or they might match with you, or they might like you, and you might not match with them. Like, what can you do in this situation? You can be polite and say, look, I've read your bio, but we're really not suitable. I do that a lot with Badoo. I'm like, thanks for your message. I read your bio, but we're not suitable. Good luck. I do that quite a lot. Not all the time, but a lot of the time, because I think it's better than just not replying and feeling like you're ghosting someone or just ignoring them. It can get a bit deflating. So I think sometimes it's nicer to just be polite and say, hey, I've read your bio. We wouldn't be suitable. However, if you know, for example, that they want kids and you don't, and they're still talking to you, then they haven't really read your bio. So you could say that is hugely disrespectful, the fact they even talk to you without reading your bio, because clearly you aren't suitable. And I get that. So sometimes, you don't even need to respond, and you don't have to respond. Someone reaches out with a message, you don't have to respond. You can just block them, ignore it, delete it. And obviously, if someone starts getting abusive, starts being narcissistic, then just block them. You don't, it's not about, oh, I've heard some people go, oh, but that's impolite. It's not about being impolite. It's about safeguarding yourself, right? they're not polite by being narcissistic in the first place or bad for you, right? You shouldn't have etiquette at your own expense, right? If someone's not being good for you, then you let them go. It's like, would you have someone in your home that was shouting abuse at you or trying to neglect you, trying to be horrible? When you're an adult, obviously you might live with family and you might still be like living at home with parents and they or caregivers, and they might not be good to you and you might feel abandoned, upset, and that might be normal for you, right? But you don't want to be a people pleaser and just be polite for the hell of it at your own expense. You know, if someone comes into your home and they're being impolite and rude, why invite them back into your home again? Why not just get them out as soon as possible, close the door on them, right? Get on with a better life, move towards better energies for yourself, and get rid of the negativity stuff. You don't need that. You don't need to be polite with every single person. You can block these people. It's not about being polite. It's, you know, being polite means you care what they think. You know, of course you should be polite in general every day of your life, right? Please, thank you, gratitude, all this type of thing. But if you've got someone who is being rude to you or clearly hasn't even bothered to read your bio and they go, oh, I'm the perfect person for you, and they want kids and marriage and you don't, for example, clearly they haven't read your bio and they're being disrespectful to you. So you don't need to be polite with someone who's disrespecting you already and who's clearly not even taking the time, energy, and effort to read your bio. You can just go from that person's life without even bothering to answer their questions or interact with them, right? Just be strong, you know? But of course, you should be polite when it's called for, but you don't want to be polite as in trying to just make someone please someone and make them happy when they're disrespecting you because they haven't even read your bio and they don't even really care. You're a number to them. That's it, right? So get your priorities right. You come first when someone's being horrible to you, disrespecting you, not appreciating the fact you've taken time to write a bio, not looking at your bio. These are things that are not good, right? I get a lot of guys that haven't bothered to read my bio, and it is really disrespectful. It's like you clearly don't care. All you're after is the sex, because if you were after a real relationship and a real connection, you'd be reading the bio and seeing if that person's going to be compatible for you with hobbies, interests, and values. Now, this is another thing. When you're dating relationships, you have to, doing dating or thinking about relationships, you have to consider the hobbies and interests and particularly the values of a person. Now, you can have different hobbies and interests, but you're probably going to want to have some because you're going to want to do some stuff together. If all your hobbies and interests are completely different, that could be difficult, right? I'm not saying it's impossible. I think some people do it, but it's going to be harder, right? Especially if you love from an emotional connection and you get close to a person through sharing hobbies and interests. If your hobbies and interests are completely different, then that might put distance between you and them. But one of the most important things is you've got shared values, beliefs, and morals and ethics. If those are like out of sync, so like for example, one of my exes, he was into fox hunting and I was dead against fox hunting. However, I did stay in a serious committed relationship with him for ages. And I didn't accept what he did, but I still accepted being in a relationship with him. But that used to annoy me. I used to make me feel angry inside, but I never let that show about that. I just thought it was really horrible. But because I loved him so much, that overrode my values, I guess, right? And morals and ethics, right? Because I don't think fox hunting should ever be done. So my values and ethics and morals clearly weren't in strong enough reason for me to leave him. However, if there was a situation where I found out someone had been accomplice to murder, for example, or actually murdered someone, I couldn't be with that person. I would feel my own life is in danger. I personally can't be in a relationship with someone like that, and that would go against my values. Although I eat chicken and fish, I don't eat pork, lamb, or beef. If I came across someone who slaughtered chickens, although I eat chicken currently, I've tried to give up meat completely before, and I get tummy pain, and I do need protein for my health conditions. So I couldn't be with someone who actually slaughtered chickens. That might sound hypocritical, but I just couldn't be with someone who goes around butchering animals even though I do still eat chicken currently. So, yeah, if you get my meaning. But my granddad was a butcher. That's what he did as a profession years ago. He's no longer here on planet Earth. He hasn't been around for years, but he was a butcher in his former years, and so I have a family member who did that. But for me personally, I wouldn't want to be with someone, for example, who worked in a funeral parlor either. And they came home and it was dead people they interacted with all day. Whereas another person might just think, wow, that's a really noble thing you do. You give them a send off at the end of their life, then that's amazing. And they might feel really good that their partner does that type of thing. They might be a person that eats tons of meat and they're like, oh, great, this person can go around, chop things up out of the wilderness, for example, and go camping and chop things up for us. You know what I mean? Some people have different ideology, they have different values, beliefs, morals, and ethics. And so if the ideology of both people's values and beliefs and ethics work together for each other, then they can, have a good, strong foundation for a healthy relationship. It's when the values and beliefs contradict each other so much that it becomes impossible to feel good with that person because you just don't like what they're doing. You can't stand it. I know some people who obviously are on newspapers and magazines where they met their partner, and the partner, when they met the partner at the time, the partner was in prison and maybe they raped someone or murdered someone or something. And they've been pen pals for like 5 years or whatever. And they finished their sentence and got out good behavior or something, and then they get into a relationship, or they're forever in a relationship with someone who's in prison, and they still love that person, and the fact they've killed or raped someone is like, okay, they've done that, but I still love them and they can have a relationship. I personally wouldn't want a relationship with that type of person. So you have to understand that values, beliefs, morals, and ethics are the strong foundation which will make or break your relationship, and deal breakers like sex, marriage, kids, all these type of things. So make sure that you're getting the fundamentals right. You want someone who, if you love animals, you want someone who's caring towards animals. If not someone who says, I hate pets and I'm never going to have them in my life ever. You know what I mean? That wouldn't work. Same as if you got someone who doesn't want children. I personally don't want children, but you do want children. Then, that wouldn't work. Say you don't have children, but you don't mind being around children. Maybe you babysit for someone, but the person that you're with or thinking about getting with actually hates children. That's not going to work. So you've got to weigh up the pros and cons of the person, like what you like, dislike. Say it's just the fact that they do a different hobby. So I hate sport, but I would be with a guy who did sport because I think it's healthy for him. If he likes it, that's great for him, even though it bores the pants off me. I'm a sports-free zone in my home, so I prefer to live separately with a guy. So I prefer to live separately when I'm in a relationship with a guy, I should say. So I'm with a guy in relationship, but I'm not with him all the time in our home because we have separate homes. So in their home or my home. But usually if you go to each other's houses or flats or wherever it is, you end up kind of thinking that both homes are your home, if you know what I mean, when they're not. So yeah, you have to be thinking about all these things. So I don't personally play video games. I don't like sport, but my last long-term ex did both. Well, he didn't play sport. Did he like watching sport? He really liked playing video games a lot. He didn't play sport from what I remember. I think he might have watched occasional football matches or something. But anyway, I hate sport, and so I'm a sports-free zone in my home. So, it'd be like, oh, you go back to your place, you can watch the match or whatever. I'm busy at my place. I'd rather get on build websites, do this channel, this type of thing, right? So, you know, um, you've got to think about these things, and you've got to think about, where do you want to be in the next 5 years' time? Do you want to still be in this country, or do you want to move abroad? Because if you want to move abroad, or someone else does, and the other person doesn't want to move abroad, that's not going to work. So there's someone on one of the asexual dating apps at the moment, and they know that they want to move to America or somewhere else, who do not want to stay in the UK. So they might only be in the UK for the next 12 months or less, and then they want to move. Well, that is absolutely no good, for example, for someone like me who loves the UK and doesn't ever want to move. And same with me with traveling. Like, I meet so many guys that just want a travel buddy, or they want to spend a lot of time traveling with that person, traveling the world, going to places. I'm not interested in traveling. I'll travel to Disneyland Paris. I don't like the travel itself really, but I like the destination. That's why I go. I've just finished paying off my Disneyland Paris trip, which is taking place in January next year. I went this year in May. Really looking forward to that, right? So it's gonna be amazing. I haven't obviously got, the spending money together yet, but it's really good. I do have money, but I want to save up some spending money really. So yeah. And so it would be great if a person did like going to Disneyland Paris on holiday. The only where I go traveling, if I go traveling, usually is in the UK. When I was with my last long-term ex, we went to Disneyland Paris together, and the only other place we went is we did go to places all over the UK. I could say, well, different places in the UK, like Birmingham, which probably laughable to some people, Torquay, Bristol. Like, this is not mega far away places. Blackpool's quite far away. We did go Blackpool. We went to Newquay as well. So we used to go on holiday in the UK and go away, that type of thing. But I don't really miss that. Like, I don't miss doing that. I like going to London or Disneyland Paris outside of my own city, or day trips to like Plymouth Aquarium and stuff like that. But I ain't bothered spending hours traveling and going to places that really don't make me feel enthusiastic, right? But I think it'd be good for me to go to some other places probably in the UK and try some other things out at some point, because then you can get a different variety. So if the guy said, "Oh, I want to travel with you," I'd be more open to it if it was in the UK and we were going to hotels or B&Bs, that type of thing. But well, preferably hotels. I have to have ensuite accommodation because I have a lot of health needs as well, which has to be factored in. But ideally, I want someone who's not really into traveling, because if they're into traveling, they'll like a lot of traveling. They'll want to go abroad. They'll want to go flying on a plane. They want to go all over the place. And that's not who I am. And so I feel like I'd either be holding them back, or I'd be spending a lot of time away from them when they were traveling. Because of course, if they want to travel, then I'm not going to stop them traveling. But if they want to travel for months at a time and I barely ever see them, that'd be like, I may as well stay single. If they're away for 1 or 2 weeks, even in a relationship, I would still want a lot of contact with that person, but I understand that they might want time more on their own. So that would be a difficult one for me. So, you have to understand yourself, reflect on yourself, reflect on your needs, what you like, what you dislike. I need a lot of kissing in a relationship. I can't be with someone who doesn't like kissing and romance, so I wouldn't really be suited to an aromantic person, someone who lacks romantic attraction. I'd be much better suited to someone who's very romantic like me, who loves kissing, cuddling, this type of thing. So, and obviously, as an older girl, I need a guy who's into older girls, knows he wants an older girl, and that's his preference. That's ideally what I need. So, there's a lot of factors to consider in there. You have to think about your plans. Like, are you going to college? Are you going to uni? Are you settled in your job? Are you settled where you live? Would you be prepared to move for a relationship? Would you be prepared to travel for a relationship, which is often what asexuals have to do, especially if they want to meet another asexual. Now, if you're okay with a heterosexual, that's fine, but you're limiting your options then to nearby you. Whereas your love of your life might be like 60 miles away or 100 miles away. They might even be in another country. So one of you will have to move eventually, otherwise it will never happen. So you need to be thinking about all these things, but make sure you're upfront about your asexuality to begin with. Make sure you know your own needs as much as possible. And anything you're not sure about, then be honest with the person. Say, look, I don't know this. I've never tried this. I've never kissed before. I have a lot of guys, like even 24, 25-year-olds, and they've never had a kiss in their life before. But then the danger of that is some of them just want to hook up for kissing with me to get experience of kissing. That's not what I'm interested in. So inquire what their motives are for meeting up with you, inquire what their motives are for dating you and having a relationship with you. Ask them, like, what would an ideal relationship look like for you? Like, get them to explain that to you. If you just want a serious committed relationship, say that you do. That should put off a lot of people that don't want it. But having said that, I've had dates with guys who I still want a serious committed relationship with, and they've had the date and then they're not really interested. They just want the date with me because I do kiss usually on dates because I like kissing. So, they've kind of got what they wanted in the kissing. I could hold back and not kiss, but I kind of really like the kissing. So that's kind of difficult. Not everyone kisses on first dates, by the way. So you've got to decide what you're comfortable with, what you want to do, what you don't want to do, right? And you've got to decide what's important to you. Like if you love living out in the countryside and they hate living out in the countryside, that's not going to work either, right? So always think about what your likes are, wants, needs, values, beliefs, morals, ethics, deal breakers, what you're flexible on. So maybe you like living where you live now, but you're flexible to like move in 6 months or a year, or maybe you're actually going to move anyway. Maybe you're going to move for a university elsewhere, and you're thinking, great, and I can find out who is in that vicinity already in the university. Maybe even get some partner lined up for that, but then don't be a user, right? Don't just line someone up because it's convenient. Think about the long term, like what happens when you leave that uni? Are you going to go back to live with your parents and then it's going to be miles away from the love of your life? Or are you going to want to move in with a person after uni? How's that going to work? So approach dating with an adventurous mindset. Do it for the journey. As I say in the entrepreneur world, do it for the journey because it's a journey that truly changes your life. Entrepreneurship's like that, and also dating and relationships can be like that. So if you're dating, do it for the journey, the self-discovery, the finding out your needs, wants, likes, the improving of communication, the improving of socialization, finding out more about different cultures and different people's wants and needs. Treat it as an inspirational, exciting journey and adventure, and then you'll feel better for doing it rather than feeling like it's just a chore or it's so hard work all the time. That's just going to make you feel depleted in energy. But do take breaks when you need to. Make sure your self-care and your health and well-being is the most important. Know that it is hard to get a relationship if you're asexual, but I know asexual couples. I know asexuals that are married to other asexuals and really happy without sex. I know asexuals that are married to people who are not asexual, right? And in relationships with them. So you can find someone for a relationship. It's not impossible. And you can live happily ever after with another asexual or person, right? Never forget that, right? So if some other people can do it, you can too, even though you have niche needs that are different. Always bear that in mind. Anyway, I love you and leave you for now. Take care. Don't forget to share this video with anyone you think may benefit from this video. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and hit the bell icon so you never miss an episode, and post your comments or questions below. As always, stay ace, and I love you. Take care. Bye.